Part 2 of the Nick Bahe podcast brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. By the way, a little birdie in my inbox said I might be on the Super Bowl. I might be in the Super Bowl commercial again. I'm very excited about that because I love everybody at Pella of Omaha and Lincoln. Seriously, the local team, man, Debbie, Vince, the whole crew, the installation crew, they're awesome. All the work they've done in my home is fantastic. Make sure you check out the showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. All right, he's Bo Ruud. I'm Nick Bahe. Part 1. Hopefully you guys listened to that. We talked about Tony White's departure, all the new hires for Nebraska. John Butler officially to DC. Phil Snow, his official title is, what the hell is he doing here? Associate head.
Who the hell is that? That's Ray Finkel. Ray Finkel? You know who he is?
Phil Snow, officially the Ray Finkel associate head coach. Terry Braden, DeKel Schwartz, wide receivers coach, all those things. We talked about that. Make sure you check out pod number 1. Okay, pod number 2 here. Portal. Now, as we're taping this, it's what is it? Wednesday, December 11th. Like, the portal's popping right now. Okay, so like people could be in and out, who knows? But as we're taping this is kind of I want to just go through, I'm not going to go through everybody that is left, but I got about, 8 names that I just want to kind of, I'll throw out a name at you. We'll talk about it a little bit. We'll move on to the next name. Okay. Cool? The first one we got to talk about, even though Imit Johnson entered the portal.
He's back.
He came back. What's funny about it, though, is he entered the portal when the portal technically wasn't open. And then I believe that the time he came back prior to the portal ever even being open. So I don't.
Okay. Now that you're saying this, my brain's going somewhere. I think we need to put a stop to this. And here's what we need to put a stop to. If you don't ever leave, you can't be back.
That's right.
Technically.
Maybe that's, yeah, because technically you could say he's coming back. Like,
and
he never left.
Even if you like, yes, you have to physically leave the state and disenroll from the university and then come back. That's the only way you can come back. There's no I'm back if you've never left.
Yeah.
That's all made up. It's all like a nice little story, right?
Well, it's
yes, fun. I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's back. But like, let's talk about like nothing happened. He just entered a portal and came back and said, I'm back. You never left.
And even did he? I think he might have had some like super drama video with it, and you're kind of like, and it was like from the moment I put that scarlet and cream on, I knew it, and it's like, well, then why did you?
But in that 3 days I was gone, I had to come back. Like nothing happened. Like we all went to Thanksgiving, and when we came back, you were still here. You never left us.
I mean, was there a letter like, dearest Matt Rule, it's been a fortnight since I've been in the portal, and did he write? I mean, you weren't even.
We're gonna call him Fortnite Johnson because he was gone
Imit
for
Fortnite Johnson. Yeah. Good Lord. I think it's pretty clear. Like some of these people, there's some leveraging going on.
I hope he got paid.
I do too. I mean, that's clearly what happened. He said, I'll walk out that door, and he walked out that door, and my guess is his phone rang. It was the 1890 initiative, and Matt Davidson was like, huge NIL raise, huge NIL. Like, that's what I honestly, like, that's the only thing that makes sense.
And so this is what's hard about this moment in time is with no structure around NIL and the Wild West. If you're Imit Johnson, you have to play this little game.
You do.
To get paid.
You do.
And so I get it. Like, I told you from the get-go, this was a couple years ago. I said, here's what's going to happen. The guys that are quote unquote doing the things he's not a bad teammate.
No.
Like you have to like put your team at risk. You have to like put yourself at like, sorry guys, I'm quitting you unless they pay me. And everybody in a way has to do that a little bit. Otherwise, you're not going to get as much money as you could.
I agree.
Reality is like, if you don't take on suitors, like, and get some sort of, negotiation happening, like you're going to get less than the market rate.
That's right. I mean, a lot of it is, you go hit I'm going to go hit the free agent market. I'm going to see what I can get out there. And like, that's how like you said it at one point, like the system incentivizes that right now. Yeah. And until we change the system, I'm not always, but more often than not, I'm not going to blame the players for taking advantage of, like, these guys all have a window of time to make more money probably than they're ever going to make in their life.
Yeah.
And you owe it to your future self to probably take advantage of that.
Because he's RB1 right now.
Yes, and he finished the season pretty strong.
He worked himself into getting to RB1, and I understand he's probably not getting paid like RB1 right now. So it's like he's like, well, you saw my last couple games. I think a lot of teams are going to like.
Right.
That's the incentive right now. Like the incentives are structured. That is, he just got leverage. The leverage was I was good.
Agree.
And then, like, he couldn't do that. Let's say he didn't play those games with Holgorsen. Maybe he goes in the portal, and maybe Nebraska lets him go in the portal.
Well, for an example would be Gabe Ervin also went in the portal. Yeah. Gabe Ervin doesn't have the same leverage right now on a variety of levels to gas up an NIL price for any side of this thing. Imit Johnson, because he had a few weeks of pretty good football, he does. So I think that was that. I will say I wasn't ready to freak out about that because, like, for as much as Imit Johnson played well down the stretch, I mean, he's not Emmitt Smith.
He's not. He's a nice little player, but he's also not like he's not a game breaker necessarily.
I agree. So,
right? But he's a guy. I'm glad he's going to be on our team.
Me too.
He fits well with what Holgorsen wants to do.
I kind of like the 1-2. The Dowdell Imit Johnson thing seemed to work okay in the final couple of weeks. I still don't think there's like I still don't look at Imit Johnson and think like, oh man, all these other Big Ten defensive coordinators. Like, I doubt that the Big Ten defensive coordinator room, if there's like a text message group chat, like, oh shit, y'all hear that Imit Johnson's back? Damn,
he's like, back. How long was he gone? A fortnight.
He was gone for a fortnight, and it was the greatest fortnight ever. Like, so it's great that he's back. Let's not build him up to more than what he was. He finished the season strong, which is good. But keep in mind these people. There are some people that have left that could easily come back. So, all right, name number one, Imit Johnson entered it, fortnight, came back. Jamari Butler. He entered the portal last year and came back, but this time I think he's for real. I
think he's going with Tony White.
I do too. My guess is his final 3 schools, which is always funny how like these people have a final 3 before the portal was technically even, or like the portal just opened and they already have a final 3. Like, I mean, I think everybody knows it's not, but what's happening. It's like, people are passing notes. Remember getting notes in 7th grade? People are passing notes to like, I remember I used to get notes from chicks in 7th grade, and it was like so sweet. When you got a note from like, hey, Nick, and it was like the I was dotted with the heart, and I was like, oh my God, she totally likes me.
Yes.
Sitting here in algebra, so boring. What are you doing for lunch later? Are you going to sit at da-da-da? It'll just be great. But so there's a way of figuring out who's in the portal, who's interested, all those sorts of things. But Jamari Butler, next game we got to talk about. I think this one hurts. I know I've become a huge Jamari Butler fan because he won the Brooke Behringer Award.
He won.
I have a rule.
He won it.
I have one rule I live by. If you win the Brooke Behringer Award, I want you on the team. Okay?
Not a bad.
That's a pretty good rule I live by. Okay? It's a pretty good rule. I think this one hurts. He's not Ty Robinson. He's not
best
Sue.
Returning defense.
He's the best. I could make a case that he is. I mean, yes, he was going to be the best returning defensive player on the team. Yep. So now I know Nebraska went 6-6 with a lot of these guys, so let's not like cry about it. But at the same time, this one hurts. Agree?
Agreed.
You felt a little. Did that one hit you in the ribs just a little bit?
A little bit.
Little body shot. Like, okay.
Rib.
Mekhi Bayer, linebacker, another one of like hurts a little bit, and I don't understand that one either.
Maybe he's a Tony White guy as well.
Yeah, I feel like Tony White. I feel like a lot of. I'll be interested how many of these guys end up at Florida State.
Yeah.
But that one shot to the ribs.
Yeah,
you're in the fight. Yeah, little shot at the ribs. Nothing crazy. Prince Will. He was kind of your boy early on.
He's a guy I liked his talent. For whatever reason, he could never put it together.
He had because he was one of those guys I felt like it was like, look out. He's about to have a big year, and it never
I predicted he was going to lead the team in sacks.
You did, didn't you?
And he just could never close on the court. Like he's athletic. He just doesn't, he just couldn't he couldn't do that last bit, the closing of it.
Right.
He struggled with that. And so, yeah, I don't know. But I've heard he's like the most highly rated portal.
Which I don't understand. I mean, to me, like the portal must not be, I don't know. You're
not a starter on our team. And
it's like being the coolest guy at the club in Vegas at 7:30 p.m. It's like, let's wait till midnight and see who's the coolest guy. I mean, more people are going to be coming to this club here. But yeah, felt like he had an underwhelming year, but shot a little like, again, it's one of those things.
He's a young talent though. So in the end, it's like, he's not a guy you want to lose. He's a guy you want to like give a chance to hit the weight room and get better. Like he's one of those guys that has the real talent that like you go, just give him more time.
I think like you said this with Tony White, and I think you could say this about a lot of these guys. If it were up to me, if someone said, would you rather have Prince Will on the team or not on the team? I would rather have him on the team. Yeah. Okay.
Him and Butler for sure.
For sure. This one hurt a little bit. Dr. James, does he understand that he was a big part of our podcast and we can no longer make Rock the Baby Dr. James Williams jokes?
Dr. James, he gave us material for days. It's just something about that kid.
I love that guy.
He was easy to root for. He was easy to joke about.
There was he just oozed material.
He just had something about him.
There was something about it. I will say now again, this might be more of a Knighton thing. Because I think him and Knighton were like super duper close. Yeah. But it's also interesting in that like Nebraska and Matt Rule, literally, this guy came to a open tryout. It was by his own admission, his life was kind of like going nowhere. Nebraska breathes life into his football life, and then he leaves. But to me, this I would assume he's going to Florida State and he's going with Terrence Knighton. Another guy that like, do I want not just for the podcast, but for the football team? Do I want James Williams on the team? I do. But he's not.
He could get home though. He's the guy that could get home.
Oh, he could. Not Charles Haley from Tecmo Bowl. He could just speed rush around the edge. Keona Davis. He's one of those guys, people in the know.
He's back.
He's back?
He's back.
He's back. Okay. Fortnite.
How long? Fortnite.
The fortnight.
Yeah.
He wrote it. Dearest Matt Rule, it's been a fortnight since I've entered the portal. How are the kids?
It's been a fortnight.
Tell them I cut down a tree to build a fire earlier today. So, okay, Keona Davis, back. Good. Right? I guess I defer to the Sean Callahans of the world. Everybody said, like, it's good that you want him back. He's talented. So there you go.
And he also said, I'm back. I'd like to question, was he ever gone?
Fantastic. Okay. Keona Davis, back. Love it. Him and Imit Johnson, roommates in the Fortnite room. Okay. Next couple of guys. Daniel Kalen. Okay. Now, I'll be honest. I'll never really understood him coming to begin with because you got the literal savior of Nebraska football, the same age as you right there, like in Dylan. But it's kind of interesting to come for a year and then nothing about his situation has really changed. It's no really different today than it was when he hopped on board, or maybe he was naive enough to be like, I can beat him out. Everybody's like, sure you can, Danny. I can beat him out, guys. Sure you can, Danny. You keep believing.
You try your best. Okay, so if I remember right,
that's so mean.
That's so mean. That's so mean.
I just mean it's more about like the sure there were the talent. Dylan's more talented, but it's more about like it was going to take heaven and earth for you know how much exponentially better Daniel Kalen was going to have to be.
Really, really that much better. And that's right.
That's why I'm saying like sure you can is more of like I bet you're gonna.
But if I remember right, Dylan coming on so late, it put Kalen in a tough spot because he had like what?
Well, here's my understanding of the timeline. Here's my understanding of the timeline. He was committed to Missouri after then Dylan. After Dylan went to Ohio State, so Georgia. Then Kalen committed. And then when Dylan came back, it was like you're saying, it was so late. It was like it was like November, now.
Yeah, it was like literally November, December.
It was late. It was either late November or early December. Dylan hopped on board, and at that point,
it's like 2 weeks till
they're at the bottom. They're like, it's last call, and you're like, oh shoot, you want to dance?
Then you're like, I'll stick with mine.
Come back here. Yeah. Like that's kind of what it was for Kalen. And so maybe that's what it was. He was like, all right, I don't have a great option. I'll see this for a year, see how it goes.
See what happens.
Okay, now that we talked that out.
He may not have been ready to play anyway. So he's, you take a year and go. And it's not the end of the world. He's got 4 more years. Seems like a pretty good young talent. Just it's hard right now to be like, Dylan's got 2 more years for sure. It's a play now mentality, and I think he's exploring his options.
Now, to be interested, you probably assume Rule's got to get another quarterback now.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the freshman kid coming in, Latif, I think, TJ Latif. You hopefully, I mean, Harburg and what he does will be interesting. I think he's going to stay. I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to probably. I've heard he's going to maybe focus a little bit more on
other positions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they really need to, maybe they need to bring in, that'd be hard to, it's a hard quarterback room to recruit to because you got Dylan there. So we'll see what happens. Couple other guys. Who else? Gabe Ervin. We talked about him. I feel bad for him for some reason. We've talked about this with Gabe Ervin. He was one of those guys. Gabe Ervin won RB number 1 twice under 2 different staffs, and he just couldn't stay healthy. And I feel like the guy never got a good block. And
when he was like, before a couple injuries, like he couldn't get a block.
I mean,
and I think he played decent against Minnesota. And
yes,
I remember he had a couple games where like he was decent, but like when he got his chances, like nothing ever good, just nothing happened. It was like he was never bad.
No,
he was just like nothing happened. Nobody blocked for him, or like he just like he never popped anything.
Do you remember Millhouse's dad had it was either can I borrow a feeling? It was I feel like
Millhouse's dad.
He's Millhouse's dad. Can I borrow a block? Like the Gabe Ervin story at Nebraska is, can I borrow a block? Can someone?
Because Millhouse's dad did try to get back with Millhouse's mom, and like the whole episode, and then she was just like, "Nah, I'm good here."
Can I borrow a feeling?
Can I borrow?
Can I borrow a block? Someone want a block for Gabe Ervin? It just seemed like it never happened.
I would argue Gabe Ervin has a alternative life where when he got blocks his first year, he doesn't get hurt. Freshman of the year
establishes himself. I don't know.
I just think he could have had.
I just think winning the job twice with 2 different staffs, like that's hard to do.
He's like one of those teammates, and I think he's a good kid. He works hard. He does everything right, and just like nobody blocks for him.
Can I borrow a feeling? Can I borrow a block?
Can I borrow a block?
Millhouse dad featuring Gabe Ervin. Malachi Coleman. He left the team. He's going to enter the portal like a couple of weeks before the season even ended. Be interested to see what happens to him. He's one of those guys, like he looks the part, and he's 6'4", can run. Somebody's probably going to take a flyer on him.
Seems like a nice kid, but something's missing. With the game, which means like I think for him, my guess is he just doesn't have the natural like just understanding how to get open. Like get open. How do you get open? You got to routes on time. Like everything Jerry Rice was great at. Like, is he good at? I'm guessing he's not.
Well, like right now, you and I get they're different kinds of receivers, but you walk Jordan Westerkamp in here and then walk Malachi Coleman in here, you would be like, that guy looks like he would be a lot better than that guy. But one guy was much better at playing football. Like, I just feel like he's still got to learn how to play football.
You got to know how to like just all the movements and how to set people up. And some people's minds just don't work that way.
Like I think he's big, he's strong, he's fast. Like check. But like, you got to be able to put it all together. Be interested to see what happens with him. I mean, I thought it was clear that with Banks and Nair, they brought in guys to recruit over him. They recruited over him. So,
but we needed help at receiver
for sure.
And like, I don't know.
Yeah. The other guy, Davon Hall, the Bell West wide receiver. I'm just mentioning him because he's local. I'm sure him and Kalen are gonna maybe go somewhere together. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The last two, I'm curious what happens with. We talked about Harburg. Fedoni had an interesting end to the season. Curious what happens to him. And then, of course, you assume and you hope you hang on to your Carter Nelsons, Ja'Cory Bardys of the world. Those guys seem like they're good.
I think they'll get paid. They'll be fine.
I tell you, I saw Mava had her dance recital down at the Lead Center, and after I parked the car and I was walking to the Lead Center, coming out of Blaze Pizza, Fedoni took everything in me to be like, hey man, I already put you in the Hall of Fame, huh?
Have you ever heard of the Nick Bob podcast?
Bigger fan, man. I let him go.
We literally the show.
We were so close to each other that we totally could have we made eye contact, and I gave him like the half nod. He didn't nod back. Damn it. Anything else with the Fortnite portal entries?
I think.
Is there anybody else that you're going? Okay, you got to hang on to Barney. You got to hang on to Nelson. You got to hang on to. You assume Dowdell and those guys are coming back now. Anybody else you feel like?
As long as Dylan stays.
Who are truly the like? They cannot. You are. Is Dylan really like
Dylan? And I mean, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think who in the line.
Gunnar Gatula shuts out to Southeast.
I mean, it's funny. It's like there's going to be about 30 to 40 players after spring ball that they're just going to have to say, you got to go.
I almost got to pull up the tweet. Mitch Sherman had a great tweet, kind of just like laying out what. Now they don't have to get to 105 by like January 1st or something like that.
It's before the season. It's just like
after
spring ball, you're going to have to basically say, guys, we're at 135, and if you're on the fourth string of the depth chart, you got to go. Like that's the only way you can really do it. I know,
but you sit there, you go, okay, they just brought in 25, a class of 25 kids. They're gonna. Rule talked about wanting to bring in like 15 or so portal guys.
Yeah,
you already have 40 some odd people 40 to 50 on scholarship. Like you're just, or you got way more than that.
I think we have 140 kids on the team right now, and so we'll lose a bunch. We'll add a bunch. They'll be 30 to 40 over, I think, in spring.
It just, I'm not gonna be able to find it, but the way Mitch Sherman kind of laid it out was like, okay, that's where this is gonna be. It's gonna be a lot of movement.
Yeah,
a lot of movement. By the way, as we are recording, Sean Callahan reports that the boa constrictor has entered the transfer portal.
I see that as a get me some money.
You think he's trying to
give me some money? Fedoni's getting paid. Carter Nelson's getting paid.
Wow.
And boa constrictor plays and gets the ball a decent amount. He's going to say, give me some money.
I think you're probably right. Does the boa constrictor have any? Well, does he threaten to release the boa constrictor on the 1890 offices? Unless you like, is he going to show up with like Jake the Snake?
I think he's a Jake the Snake type. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Makes a lot of sense.
But so, are you saying that he's boa constrictor's trying to leverage Nebraska into more money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I hope so. Just so we can continue.
Nebraska
we can't lose
kid,
all of our
he's
material.
A Nebraska kid. I just feel like Nebraska kids.
I hope boa constrictor comes back.
Yeah, especially because he had a couple of good games.
Nate Borkacher, by the way. People that don't know who like boa constrictor.
Oh, I guess I didn't even notice. Yeah, that's
sorry, Nate Borkacher, folks. So hopefully he comes back. Okay. Anything else with the portal before we move on to a couple other things here? Okay, Pinstripe Bowl. Boston College is the opponent. 7-5. No amazing wins on the season. They did play SMU really close, who's in the playoff. It was a 3-point game with a minute left in the fourth quarter or whatever it was, 2 or 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's frustrating. Like, it's like you've been waiting to go to a bowl, and then of all the bowl locations, I feel like Husker fans wanted to go to either Tampa or they wanted to go to Nashville, and they're going to go to New York, where it's like maybe colder in New York than it is in Nebraska. Yep. It's fucking expensive as hell in New York, so it's not going to be a cheap trip. And then Boston College doesn't really like, get you too fired up. So I don't want to be like,
here's what just as you said that, something went in my head is like, they don't seem like they're going to like. Is it an easier win for us though? Like if we're just going for wins.
Well, also they're Thomas Castellanos. If I'm hoping to say his last name, their quarterback entered the portal.
Good.
So who knows if they're going to bring the ghost of Doug Flutie back to play quarterback? Yeah. Like now at quarterback for Boston College, Doug Flutie. I mean, I don't know what that really looks like. I mean, who knows what Nebraska's fully going to look like?
Yeah.
But it's a bummer. It just goes back to that freaking Iowa game, man. It feels like if Nebraska hangs on and beats Iowa, they are in the Music City Bowl in Nashville playing Missouri. Now, tell me you're not really excited about Nashville, Missouri, New York, Boston College. Yeah. But I do feel kind of like I am, I'm begging for a meal and people hand me a hamburger helper and I'm like, thanks for nothing, man. I mean,
you were starving, sir.
Come on,
this is hamburger helper. Like it's known to be not as good as.
Come on, man. You got a Ruth Chris bone-in ribeye back there? No,
that's my favorite. Yeah.
So I don't want to be quite like that. But there is no question that of the options, I think there are a lot of people like New York. I'm not really feeling it. Don't know a ton about Boston College. Do you feel like it's important to go win this game though? Like where are you?
I think it will be we made it to a bowl game. Everything with our program, like we just need to always be building momentum. It will be another momentum builder.
I think
it's not what it could have been with the Iowa win where we would have been flying high in the offseason. But now it will sort of, I feel like we've been kind of a little bit in the dumps, and this would bring us out of the dumps at least.
I think it's always easy 23 weeks and weeks before a game to be like, I don't think it really matters. When that game kicks off and Nebraska's on the field, you're going to want to effing win the game.
That's right.
So we'll have more. I mean, we'll probably, when the bowl comes, we'll get a little preview episode on it and all that stuff. But the main topic I wanted to have was like, gosh, you obviously would rather been in a warm weather. Nashville, Missouri gets people a lot more excited than New York City and Boston College. A couple more things that we just kind of hammer through stuff on part 2 of this pod. Scott Frost heading back to Central Florida. Wow.
Putting the band back together, man.
Got Mackenzie Milton as the quarterback's coach. Who was the great linebacker that had one arm? Griffin.
Yep.
Griffin's in. He's back on staff, so he's literally like the whole crew's coming back. When he got fired at Nebraska, I wasn't sure. Like, will that guy be a head coach again? Will he go be a coordinator again? What'll happen? I never really thought about, well, what happens if the Central Florida job opens up? Like, would he go back there? I don't know why I never really thought of that.
I think it's a great fit.
I think it's a great fit.
It's a great fit for Scott. I'm happy for Scott.
So am I. I'll be rooting for him.
Scott, I think people got a little sour, obviously, because things didn't go right. But like, you can't, like, Scott did his best here. He really tried. Like, he tried his best, and things didn't go right. Like, it just didn't happen for him here. But like, the guy's still a good coach. Like, he is a great offensive mind. Like, you want that guy calling plays, and he's going to a place where he's going to have athletes all around him that he can go do his thing and like call a game, score some points, and win some football.
100%. It's a way fit. Very few people in any walk of life, actor, director, coach, athlete, defy circumstance.
Yeah.
There's certain actors, you give them any script and they'll make it good.
Yeah.
Right. LeBron James, one of those guys, like, you put that guy anywhere, he's just going to win.
Yeah.
Most of us, 99% of the rest of us, need the right fit. this Central Florida is a way better fit for him. I know that sounds weird because he's a Wood River, Nebraska, former Nebraska. You would have thought Nebraska was a good fit. No. Central Florida is a much better fit for him. All the things you talked about, recruiting base, the league fits his style of play more. I know they're now in the Big 12, but Big 12 is more of a finesse league than the Big 10 is. Geographical location on how he wants to play. He wants to score points. He wants speed. Florida, it works. Not to mention less pressure and no fishbowl. I would imagine in Orlando, people care, but not like the way they care in Lincoln, Nebraska, obviously. It just, he had I don't know if you saw the press conference. He had the big quote from the press conference Frost did coming back to Central Florida he said, quote, "When you're climbing the ladder of success, they forget to tell you to stop when you're happy." Yeah. And when you're like the most successful, that's one of the things. Like I remember like when Rich Rodriguez left from West Virginia to go to Michigan and it didn't work. And I was like, well, he had everything going for him at West. He had it going.
So like, this is what people do in life. It's like, there's always something better that you feel like you're supposed to do.
Right.
Where when like you're doing it so well and you've built something, like, it's hard to recreate the magic.
It is.
All the little things you have to do to make that thing good. It's almost like in the business world, like you start a company, you build up, is going right when it's going the best. You're like, well, now I'm going to go to this other company and make that.
Now I'm going to start this.
I hope it goes the same.
And it's
like
just,
you forget about the million things you did for the first.
Agree. And so that's I just think he never, as weird as this sounds, like I think back to that first press conference. I don't know how comfortable he ever fully was. Like, you remember that first press conference? He scolded the media to leave his family alone and leave. Like before the first press conference, it was just kind of like, okay, that's kind of like an awkward first thing to say to people.
It was a big weight. I mean, the thing about it is like, and he knew. Being a Nebraska,
the pressure had to have been,
and a Nebraska player, like the weight of it is just more on you then, because you know how much it matters to you too.
Yes.
Versus, like you take the Tennessee job or you take the Florida job, like there's a weight to it, but it's not
it's not home.
It's not home.
It's different when you have to come. Yeah, the weight of home was just
friends and your family's weight too.
All the stuff he had to navigate with that was a lot.
There's a lot. It was a special situation here where the weight was just more, and he didn't get lucky either.
No, I mean
he had no luck. No luck went his way there.
No, and we've been in the if game prison.
We are still. You just give us a chance and we'll go back.
I will gladly go back to if prison.
Recovering.
I mean, I'm recovering if I'm out on parole in the if prison. So just interesting.
But they say when you're in if prison, you get out, you find a reason to get back in. More likely to commit the same crime.
I'm more comfortable in that prison. But it'll be interesting to see how he does there. I mean, they're in the Big 12 now. But I just think it's a better fit for him.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches, how about Bill Belichick going to North Carolina? Like, is that
it's official?
I believe it's official. We will pull it up before we turned on the.
Yeah.
It looks like it is
nearing deal.
Belichick.
Nearing
a deal. Okay. So I guess we'll discuss it. By the time you guys listen to this, the news may break one way or the other. Bizarre move to me. Now, if I'm North Carolina, it's like no brainer, I think. But
so for whatever reason, the NFL, like I feel like the NFL is kind of shutting Belichick out.
I don't understand that.
I don't either. I mean, Bill Belichick is probably the greatest football coach ever.
Oh yeah.
And some of these hires I see at some of these places, to me, if you aren't willing to hire Belichick over them, I don't take you seriously as an organization. I just don't. I mean that. That's I don't like to make defiant statements very much. I would make that defiant. Like if you hire some guy,
right,
and you don't hire Belichick, like it's one thing is like, this is a young, really
up and coming,
a stud coach. You can make your argument, but when somebody we're kind of like, who? and they're all right. And then you see after like a year or two, they're going to be gone. You're just like, and you could have had Belichick. Like, what are you afraid of? You're afraid that he is going to do too well and want too much control. Like, it's all about control because Belichick's going to want to, he's going to want to be the chef too. Like he's going grocery shopping. Like he's cooking, right? He wants to have the GM authority. He wants that, but I don't know what some of these organizations are scared of because the guy just had the best 20-year run in the last 50 years, like
arguably he had in all of professional sports or just all of sports period. It's on the short list of greatest. I mean, it's like he's along there with John Wooden, with Phil Jackson. Like he's right there. And in some ways you could say you could even put him above that. Now, maybe how everything went at the end without Brady, people go like, oh, he was only, because people love to do that. Like, is it Brady? Is it Belichick? I don't know. I mean, those kinds of things, you can't have one without the other.
You don't separate them. They are a product of each other.
Yes.
You
were drafted by the guy and played for him for a little bit your rookie year. And so you get it. Like,
I mean,
you got to see it up close and personal with this guy.
Brady's excellent, right? He is excellent. But Bill Belichick is the man. Like he is Bill Belichick. He is excellent. And there's no way around not acknowledging like somebody that knows that much and has that sort of understanding. Like his understanding, it's the tops. Like to me, it's like it all starts with him and everybody else is sort of like, how much closer are they to him?
So for me, like, I don't understand. And it seems like they probably are going to do it. Like if you're North Carolina, like you give this guy literally the checkbook and just say, and everything, like you, however you want this.
So here's what you got to remember. Him and Nick Saban are tight. They always spend their time talking every offseason, doing what they do. Like Bill Belichick doesn't mindlessly just decide to do things.
Oh yeah.
This guy is calculating. So whatever he has done, so let's say, I don't know, maybe he won't take this job. Maybe
who knows?
He's using it to get some other job. But let's say tomorrow we release this pod and he's taking the job. Like to me, he's already thought out why he wants to take it and how he's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to leverage something. You know how the Patriots push it to the limit?
Oh yeah.
Like he's going to say, well, I don't want to do some things that are required in college, but now I can do this full force. Like he's going to use everything that he has as an advantage, which is the rings, the prestige, the name, and all his player connections. Like he's going to do things that I think you're going to be surprised. He's going to have some tricks in his bag that he's going to be unashamed to go throw.
He is the ultimate. I'm going to find a competitive advantage, and
that's what I'm saying.
And so he's going to find it. It's just going to be interesting. Like he hated pay. Like I feel like he always was like, he struck me as a guy that was like always looking to like give pay cuts for like professionals. Like it'll be funny. It was like a little 18-year-old like NIL deal for that guy. Like I wonder how that'll kind of sit with him, but he'll find a way to make it work. I think it's
so what he did, what he mentioned, I saw one little blurb on it. He basically said something along the lines of like, I'm going to run a pro program. Like he's going to sell this. He's going to sell.
You want to come to the NFL?
This is the New England Patriots, but it's North Carolina. There's no difference. You come here, you will walk into any NFL team and you're going to be more than ready. And you know what? He's right, because these other yahoos that these NFL teams are hiring aren't as good of coaches. They don't have as good of systems. They don't teach the game as well as he'll teach.
Love how all in you are on Belichick.
Yeah. I will say this. The guys, like the learning curve to be on that team was like, it was like studying all these things. There's a system and you have to learn it. And other teams just don't do that. I promise you, Nick, they don't. I know. And if you go to North Carolina, you're going to learn that.
And it seems like, you're going to have a decent recruiting base. You're in a league. The ACC is a little like, right now. Like
they got players.
They got too, players. Man. They got, it's interesting. A couple more things. We'll get out of here. I don't even know. Nebraska's recruiting class signing day or whatever the hell it is now happened. Top 20 class, sixth best class in the Big Ten. Seems like a lot of the top guys. Dawson Merritt, the linebacker, Nebraska beat out Alabama to get to him. Yep. So it seems like had to have a pretty NIL deal for that. Cortez Mills and Isaiah Mosey, 2 wide receivers that are pretty highly touted. Of course, you got Christian Jones, linebacker out of Omaha as well. But I'm excited when you're beating Bama out for a linebacker. That's pretty exciting. And let's hope these skill guys, Mills and Mosey, are like the real deal of Vander Holyfields.
Yeah, I think the 4 guys you pointed out to me they're obviously the stars of the class, but they're also filling real needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about the linebackers. I mean, the Jones kid from West Side won the National Bud Kiss High School Player Linebacker of the Year award.
Right.
He is going to be a culture guy, I have a feeling. West Side's got a great program up there, right? So
yes.
You bring in a Nebraska culture guy to take one of those linebacker spots that's going to be open. I mean, I don't know if he'll be ready next year, but there's a chance one of these 2 guys will play.
Either Merritt or Christian Jones, right?
Merritt maybe is a little bit more of an edge guy.
Yeah, right.
So he might take a little bit longer, but God, it's hard to play inside also as a freshman. But I think there's a chance that Jones will have a crack at it, right? So, yeah, I like it. And then the 2 skill guys, we need receivers, and these are, I mean, they're both look like good players.
4-star kids that are highly thought of. And yeah, you need, and if there is, whether it's wide receiver or running back, those are positions that typically young guys can get on the field and make an impact right away. And like you said, they need those guys. Like Mills and Mosey can't come in and think that they need to come in and thinking they're getting on the field right away. Now, because I do think in the portal, I mean, we didn't even get to this because it's hard to assess it until everything, but Nebraska needs to, I still feel like they need to go get 1 or maybe even 2 real receivers. Yeah. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I view it.
You got Barney and you got some of these young guys that haven't played yet, but really you can't count on anybody that hasn't been in the field yet. You got to bring in talent and then let it all just work itself out.
You need to go find a guy that's got a proven resume.
That's right.
That can come in and do his thing. College football playoff, any takes before we get to Nebraska's 2025 schedule and get out of here?
A lot of teams. I'm just going to see how this rolls, man. This is new. I don't know what to expect of this many games.
First of all, I love it. I'm happy that it's here. It is pretty amazing to think about. Forever and before the BCS, we lived in a world where it was voted on who's the champion. That's kind of bizarre. It's kind of amazing to think, I even think about the Orange Bowl in 97. You woke up that day and it was Nebraska. Was this the national championship? Was this not the national championship? What or is it the Rose Bowl? Is it Michigan, Washington State? Is that the net? You know what I mean? It's just bizarre to kind of think about how we used to do things. This is obviously so much better of a way. Of course, they can continue to get better. I do think the idea that I think they need to. I'm cool with conference champs getting an automatic bid. I like that.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be. You need to seed it based on how good you think these teams are. Yeah. You know what I mean? Boise State should not be getting a bye and then, or Arizona State to me should not be getting a bye. No. But yeah, it's wild. Would you rather be Penn State than Oregon? Penn State has to host SMU, and then they would play Boise State to get to the semifinals. Or would you rather be Oregon? They have to play the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State.
Yeah. Yes, it's a way harder.
It's a way harder path, I'm excited. Do you have a dog in the fight? Even though I know it's not Nebraska. Do you have someone or at least?
I think in a weird way, want to see Indiana.
I'm telling you, you're right. I want to see. If there's one team I truthfully would be I want to see them win. I think it would be if Indiana, in Bloomington, Indiana, can go to South Bend and take down the big bad Fighting Irish. That is amazing.
That would be argued if they win the national title, Nick. I would argue that's the greatest Cinderella story, maybe in the history of sports.
Especially for football. You don't get very many Cinderella football.
Nick, never in football. You're never expected to be the worst team in the Big Ten and then go win the national championship.
Right.
It would be incredible.
It would. So,
I didn't even consider it. Now I'm like considering. I'm like, well, what if they do?
I mean,
they won't.
The hard part is they have to play Georgia. Like Notre Dame's no joke. They have to play Georgia.
I just think
I'm kind of all in on it.
I mean, I would love it if they somehow found a way. But like there's so much talent. Like the fact it's not just like 1 or 2 games. It's like that. Like you got to win 3.
You got to beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Then you got to beat Georgia.
And then you got to go.
And then you'd have to go probably be, it'd probably be Penn State. Yeah. I mean, brutal. Yeah. Part of me that loves to see McConaughey, even though I'd never want to root for Texas, part of me wants McConaughey just on the sidelines as much as possible. Hey.
Gotta love
all right. Last thing before we get out of here, quick take on Nebraska's 2025 schedule. You want me to read it to you?
I got it right here.
Got it right there. Okay.
I thought I did.
August 30th, Cincinnati. There's been talks that's going to be at Arrowhead, which would be exciting. Akron at home, Houston Christian at home. That used to be Houston Baptist, by the way. That's Houston Christian. Mm-hmm. Then you have home game, Michigan. Wow, that's out the gates, Michigan. Home game, Michigan State. At Maryland, at Minnesota, home to Northwestern, home to USC, at UCLA, at Penn State, home Iowa. So you're avoiding. You don't have to play Oregon. You don't have to play Ohio State.
I think it's all you can ask for. I mean, Michigan's still tough. They're going to be tough. It's a bad way to start their Big Ten schedule. They're just a tough, talented team. But I think between the Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, that's the soft meat of the schedule. That we got to make hay.
We do that all the time, but it's true. Like, so that, I was the same way that Michigan State, at Maryland, at Minnesota, Northwestern, like you better be ready to play in that stretch.
Yeah. And you got your California
connection.
Crew.
Hopefully on November 8th, or hopefully on November 1st, when USC comes to town, and there's like a snowstorm because, but yeah, for me, it's exciting. Cincinnati, if it's at Arrowhead, that'd be super, super fun. But the big thing to me is like you avoid Ohio State, avoid Oregon. That's
we just figured out how to beat Wisconsin. Now they're off the schedule.
Right?
No coincidence.
finally get a piece. Or you finally crack that code and they're off. Now you get to go play PJ Fleck, which is like, goodness gracious. Okay, part 2 in the books. That was good.
Yeah,
that was really good. Maybe should we go check on the Fortnite portal, see if anybody else is in there?
It's been a fortnight.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.